Kalen DeBoer has hit the ground running. And the next thing is for the offensive guru, him and his offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, to install this high-powered attack with guys like Jalen Milroe. He talked about it. We're going to listen to what he had to say. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that and more. Welcome to the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up no matter where we are in the furthest southern point in the United States. We still bring you a show from Key West. Let's get this thing started. Roll Tide. What do you say, everybody? It's Mick Gillispie. Thanks for hanging out with us at Broadcaster Mick on the socials. And let me remind you that the show is always brought to you by our great sponsors like Pearl River Resort over in Choctaw, Mississippi. Pearl River Resort, great place to go on vacation. They've got the Timeout Sports Lounge. They've got Dancing Rabbit Golf Course. They've got a lot of other great things over there as well. And table games, slots, you name it, they've got it. All right, let's get into what's going on right now. And in the world of Alabama, it really is kind of hard to say, exactly what is important this time of year and what isn't, right? But what we're watching is a guy that took the job from Nick Saban. We get Nick Saban's out golfing with 50 Cent and people celebrities and stuff, and good for him. I mean, look, he put in his 17 years. He won a lot of games, and he deserves that respite, right? He deserves that. But this guy here, Kalen DeBoer, who took over, has just done a fantastic job. And I wanted to play this. AL.com and Florida Sports Source posted it. Thank you to those guys for this clip. And this is him talking about what he's going to do with this offense that is about to be installed. And I thought that this was worth listening to, and it was interesting just because he's talking about some of the guys that came from Washington that he thinks are going to help Alabama.
Yeah, from a staff standpoint, we're really looking forward to next week to being around our guys and spending a lot of time with the team, back on campus. But those that have come with us from Washington, there's certainly an understanding of, even the system, and what certain concepts are called and how we teach them. So hopefully back on campus, they're picking up on those things. Jalen with, Austin, and as well as, having a center like Parker there knows all the calls, and we can hit the ground running here next week when it comes to installing offensive and defensive systems.
Yeah, that's exciting. First off, Jalen Milroe is going to have a good center to work with, right? And I know a lot of you guys saw that Seth McLaughlin talked. AL.com did a story on that. And, I mean, if there's one guy or two guys that I really just don't care what they have to say, it's him and Caleb Downs. Guys, have fun at Ohio State. Best of luck to you. But I think we all kind of feel the same way. It's like, out. And honestly, the center of the position of center is an upgrade for Alabama. I mean, you talk about adding Parker Brailsford, who is on the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line. He wasn't the starter at center at the beginning of the year, but when he slid into that spot, he solidified that line. 13 games there, one sack all year. Yeah, he can snap the ball to the quarterback. Somehow he's able to tell when the guy on the other team's clapping or it's the quarterback clapping. He's figured a lot of those things out. Now, I know that it's not the SEC, and I know that it's more physical football, but Kalen DeBoer talked about that. The fact that it is going to be a physical brand of football in the SEC, and I don't think that that's anything that Kalen DeBoer is really that concerned about. I mean, he knows what's expected. He also inherited a really good roster. I mean, you talk about the roster that he's getting, in taking over for Nick Saban, even with the guys that Alabama's lost, you're still talking about a guy in DeBoer that's probably going to have more talent at every position than really he ever has. Maybe not wide receiver just because he had so many great players there last year, but he's going to have a lot of talent at his disposal. And I think that that's going to make a big difference for him going into this season. And I got to give the guy a ton of credit because it just feels like every time you turn around, Kalen DeBoer is somewhere else. Like he's obviously down in Mobile for senior day, or excuse me, for the Senior Bowl and down there and doing all the things that you do down there. And but every time you turn around, this, Auburn fans and a lot of people in the SEC really thought that DeBoer was going to kind of have that same personality as we saw with Auburn's coach that didn't make it. And it's like, look, this guy is not, he's his own person. And it doesn't matter what any other coach does. It really just matters what he does. And so I've been impressed by that. I'm excited to see kind of how things progress. He talked about Austin Mack knowing the offense, working with him last year. Parker Brailsford, obviously, another guy that was there last year that's going to know the system. That gives him and Ryan Grubb such an advantage, right? And don't forget about Jermaine Bernard as well, someone else who played there at receiver. So you got guys in key spots that are going to be able to help the other players on the team. The other thing that I thought was interesting in his comments was he talked about keeping Robert Gillispie and also Freddie Roach and what those meant to Nick Saban and how it was really important to try to have those guys. I love the comment. He said, we locked arm in arm with them and they kind of let us, things could have been a lot worse in the transfer portal. And look, it stunk. I mean, watching guys, transfer out for big paydays to places like Texas and Florida State and Georgia and Ohio State. It sucked, but it could have been a lot worse. And it sounded like from him that Freddie Roach and Robert Gillispie really helped out in that process and trying to keep guys. But it feels like things have really steadied out. You're starting to hear from coaches around the state of Alabama that DeBoer has embraced the Alabama culture and it has not changed. And we're going to do some stories on that. We're going to talk about what some of the high school coaches have said about him in some shows coming up soon. But today I just wanted to talk about his demeanor and the fact that he's ready to start installing this offense. And it's really exciting. And when we know now that the 8A game is going to be the second weekend in April, that's exciting. I can't wait to see. And I know a lot of you guys have gotten in the comment section and you're like, hey, I'm going to be there. And I'm going to be there too. I can't wait to just see what things look like. What's Milroe look like in an offense that is coming at you with so many different looks, with so many more motions than we're used to? I think that the running backs are going to have so much more opportunity to make big plays. I'm guessing that it's going to bring us back to what the offense looked like with Sark and with Lane Kiffin and Loxley, where we just had so much movement going around. We were really able to take advantage of a lot of those playmakers all around the field. So good to hear from Coach DeBoer. And I also like his personality. I like his demeanor. It's a good change. Somebody doesn't seem like they're angry at the media. Seems like he's really comfortable talking in front of a camera. Now, I know he hasn't coached a game yet, but good on him. I've like I said, I've really enjoyed seeing what he's kind of all about, and I'm excited, and I think a lot of you guys are as well, to see what the future of Alabama football is under his leadership. Bad leadership, and I wanted to talk about this too, is Brad Bohannon. And you talk about someone who has tarnished their legacy, their career, their name, and it's obviously him. I mean, he was forced to resign due to a gambling scandal. And the guy that was involved in the scandal with him has pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice. So just more fallout from this. They bet on well, they allegedly bet on an LSU Alabama baseball game. That's certainly why he got fired, and it's a real shame. Now, you talk about a guy that had a stellar reputation going into this, and someone that I have never heard anyone up until then say anything bad about Brad Bohannon, but this just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And to just see that, I'm afraid to know when all the cards are laid out on the table exactly what was involved in this. Other than to tell you that, shame on Brad. And I would not be surprised if you don't see stuff like this starting to happen in all sports in college, not just baseball. Watch football and basketball with the ability to gamble. And look, I'm all about it, but I'm all about, hey, put some pizza money down, have a good time. But at the same time, when you're involved in those sports and you're coaching or playing, you can't do it, and it's a shame that that's something that we got to worry about in this day and age. So anyway, that does it for our show today, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Get in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Obviously, really excited the future of Alabama football with Kalen DeBoer. We're keeping an eye on the Senior Bowl. I watched a big chunk of Senior Bowl practice today. Will Reichert out there with the super foot, and Chris Braswell, who I think is going to make an NFL team. He's kind of my Brian Branch from last year's team, where I was like, somebody's going to get this guy, and they're going to be like, man, we got to steal with him. So Braswell's kind of my guy off of this senior. Obviously you got a lot of juniors that are going in too, but and then Justin Abigby. So good luck to all of those guys as they continue to practice. And this is where all the emphasis is. I mean, I sat there and watched the Senior Bowl workouts today. I probably won't watch 5 minutes of the game, but it's all stuff that leads up that makes it really interesting. And you can see the coaches in there, and they want to see what passes certain guys can make. They want to see how players move, and they're out there getting hands-on. It's really awesome. So check that out. It was on ESPN. Hey, guys, I want to remind you that not only are we brought to you by Pearl River, but we're also brought to you by our good buddy, the catfish himself, Chad Anderson, ChadwickAnderson.com. He's helped over 1,000 families. 2,000 families. 10,000 families get into homes. He's an investment consultant. He's an Airbnb expert. He's really a fantastic guy. He got me in my house. I'm telling you that in my studio, and I couldn't have done it without him. And I've known him for a long time, but I always knew he was good at the mortgages. And then when I needed him, he stepped up and helped me get it done. So they're doing a lot of stuff right now where people are in these awful credit card deals, and they're refinancing to try to get rid of that credit card debt, which my credit cards, by the way, are 25%. That's why I don't ever leave a balance on them. So anyway, find out for yourself, ChadwickAnderson.com. And thanks for hanging out with us here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. I'm Mick Gillispie. Roll Tide, everybody.